Hi everyone, and welcome back to Splashpage. I'm Sean, and as always, I'm joined by Andrew, and we just finished watching the final 3 episodes of Season 1 of Arcane. Andrew, what'd you think, man?
Phenomenal. Really, really good stuff. Really well written. Some really cool quotes in there, too, that I really enjoyed. They put a lot of love and effort into this show, and you could really tell with what comes out on screen.
I agree, and this is your spoiler warning. From this point on, we will be discussing kind of what happens in the show. So if you haven't watched it yet, please go watch it and then come back. So great. The first thing that we should call out is this is obviously the first season as opposed to the end with the way that the final episode ends on a cliffhanger, which is great news because I desperately want more of this show as well.
Yeah. Do we know if they've picked it up yet for a second season?
I don't, but I did read that Netflix is partnering with Riot Games to do some other seasons of
good.
other characters or other storylines from within this world.
Okay.
So assuming this will get picked up, considering there's already that extended partnership.
So we might create a whole Arcane universe thing here with this continuing, like the WB with Arrow and Flash and Supergirl. We'll get a whole bunch of different shows off of this, you think?
Yeah, potentially. That's the way it sounds. That's at least the last thing I read.
That could be cool or it could be overwhelming. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Great. Well, let's jump into the first episode, episode 7, where right off the bat we find out that what we hypothesized last week, that Echo would be the leader of the Firelight, was correct. And we get to see the reaction between Vi and Echo, friends as kids, and the two hadn't seen each other since, very similar to how Jinx hadn't seen her sister and many of the other characters haven't seen her. What we end up doing is going back to where Echo and the Firelight live and hang out, and that is a gorgeous spectacle. What'd you think of that, Andrew?
It's really cool. That tree is pretty awesome. It feels very Peter Pan Lost Boys, right?
I agree, totally.
They're all in there. They've got that fancy tree that Tinkerbell probably lives in, and then later on there's the scene where Heimerdinger comes in and basically his second in command yells out "Firelights," much like Rufio.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
That was really lovely too, the way they wrote that in, because you could have just had a bunch of kids in a tree fort fighting for good, but the line about you can't just give people what they need to survive, you got to give them what they need to live. That yes, we have to fight for what we need, but we also need to enjoy our lives. Otherwise, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
I really like that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to see that. So we also meet up with Powder, who continues to kind of struggle with this multiple personality thing that she has going on. And we, again, made a guess last week that the voices that she was hearing could be people that she had known in her past. We did have that really beautiful scene of the camera spinning around her where we saw Milo and Clagger on her back. And if anyone was watching this week with the closed captions on, they actually, when we were hearing the voices in her head, called it Milo's voice.
Yeah, that really is kind of the lost soldiers, the PTSD. She's gone a little nuts, and it's nice that she still has those memories. And the whole, I guess you would call this arc, 3 episodes, she's torn with her memories back and forth. Is she with Silco? Is she with Vi? Is she Powder? Is she Jinx? She really has a strong personality disorder that she's fighting with constantly.
Yeah. We then kind of look over to Mel and Jayce and Viktor's story. A lot goes on between those 3 in these 3 episodes. We really kind of get down to the brass tacks when they talk about the inevitable, utilizing hex tech in weaponry. The sole purpose of Hextech was to help people, and Jayce was very forward about that, wanting progress and positive things for the people, but great technology always tends to go into weapons, whether it be in real life or all these fantasy worlds, which is a pretty consistent storyline as well.
Yeah.
But that being said, we did see some cool ass weapons.
And I really like the writing on this too, because everyone's constantly changing their minds and changing their opinions based on who they talk with. And you see that change in Jayce, who starts out the show as a young idealistic man and then becomes kind of more war hungry and ends up becoming a little more of a realist and falling into where Marcus and Grayson had fallen before with Silco. And then you see like Mel starting off very power hungry and strong, and by the end softening up a bit based on her interactions with Jayce and her mother, foregoing her family for peace.
Yeah, and let's dig into that a little bit more too. Obviously,
Yeah.
Jayce has had kind of a big rise from episode 1 until these last 3 episodes, and essentially he's kind of the lead chairperson of the council now with Heimerdinger out. He is the one that calls for the blockade on the bridge that is going to be that further divide between the people of Zon and the people of Piltover, causing more conflict, stopping trade between the two, which gives some unrest to the kind of seedier element that works for Silco, as well as Viktor, who was originally from the Undercity and became, a successful scientist and inventor in Piltover, has some reservations about it. We also, see why he does, because he goes down there to interact with a character that gives him something. But, the episodes is really building up a full-out war between the two cities. And
sides
it's not surprising considering that's how it started. So Viktor, through these 3 episodes, continues to struggle with his health. We did learn that, as a young kid, he met with a scientist hermit who, in fact, we saw quite a few times. He ended up working with Heimerdinger a bit, which I don't think was ever shown. He then worked with Silco quite a bit. And then, obviously, he was still doing his shimmer harvesting from Rio, the lovely giant lizard thing.
Chameleon monster?
What is it?
Maybe it's a chameleon monster? I don't know. I'm guessing at what that lizard could have been.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Some kind of a Komodo dragon-y.
Yeah, I mean, don't even know if it's relevant, to be honest with you.
No,
but
it's not.
Sure. And so Viktor is struggling throughout these 3 episodes as to, what should he do? Should he focus on healing himself or focus on kind of furthering the technology without risking everyone's lives? And it comes at a cost.
Absolutely. Well, he does gain certain powers with his hex tech, hex core. Hex core? Yeah, that's it. He kind of gives into it and is now made partially out of blue.
Blue, purple?
Yeah, some kind of glowing blue. But I did like that shot where he first gains his powers and he does that kind of drop the cane, start walking with a limp into a run, which felt very reminiscent of Usual Suspects, if you've seen that movie. Right? Yeah.
I mean, in different context for sure, but yeah, I see the
but still,
why you would say that.
Exactly the same kind of scene, different context for sure. And the moment where he... did he get the powers before or after Sky was kind of melted into nothing?
Well, I think that happened after he applied the shimmer as well.
Right, because he was going for more. He was running out of... He tried to destroy it and then couldn't bring himself to do it.
Yeah, and then Sky comes in with... Who I don't know if we've met before. Seems like a lab assistant that either idolizes or maybe it's more of a romantic connection to Viktor. But she comes in to tell him something or some discovery or something she's been working on the side, and sees that he's connected to the core, goes to help try to pull him away, and is basically turned into dust for attempting to save him.
Yeah. Did you notice after that the hex core starts kind of gurgling? It kind of wants more. It felt very Little Shop of Horrors there.
Yeah,
like
that's a good call.
Feed me. Yeah, with the blood too. Yeah, feed me, Seymour. Feed me, Viktor.
Yeah, at that point we assume Viktor's going down a bad path, but then he kind of has a moment off of, I don't even know what to call that little area, a little balcony that looks down a dam, I guess.
Yeah.
And he kind of contemplates taking his own life when Jayce steps up and essentially has the same conversation in reverse or reverse from who's saying what from the first time that Jayce and Viktor met, and Jayce was thinking about kind of jumping off of his broken apartment.
Right. He's one of the guys, too, that has changed his mind a couple times back and forth. He wanted to use Hextech to save people. Then he started using Hextech to keep himself alive. And now he wants to destroy it because he sees it's getting out of hand.
Right. Kind of, Heimerdinger might have been right. You know?
Yeah, in the long run. We've sacrificed great for good. Or whatever that line was written. Much better than I just said it.
Yeah, I think the line was, "In pursuit of great, we failed to do good."
That's the one. Which sounds like something Churchill would have said.
Yeah. All right, Andrew, now let's talk about what happens when Mel's mom shows up. Mel's mom, who appears to be the queen or the head of Noxus.
I don't know if is she the queen or head, or I thought she was the head of the military, or she's something very powerful.
Yeah, I think she is the leader there, because she asks Mel to come back with her and rule at her side.
Right.
But regardless, she comes into town and at first seems to be warning Mel about making weapons out of Hextech, only to then, by the end of these episodes, want the weapons made out of Hextech.
Yeah, she made a turn. She might have been trying to keep her cards close to her vest. But that is a very, I'm not going to say trite or overused, but it is a truism, I guess you could call it, that any weapons you make will be used, and you can't unmake them. So she's warning her against making the weapons, but she does want the war.
Yes.
I think she might be warning her against making the weapons because she knows that she'll end up giving them to the people, and Mel's mom wants them for herself.
Potentially. Yeah,
Maybe that was the angle.
Mel's mom also seems just to enjoy being in Piltover. She has like a young call boy on her beck and call, flies off on an airship, is taking a bath.
I get the feeling Mother Maderda enjoys being everywhere all the time.
Yeah, hey, good for her, man.
Yeah.
She just walks around and owns it and does what she wants. I'm here for that.
And she's a big part of what pushes Mel to vote in the council meeting for peace. Because of that whole, my mother came in and she's trying to push me around again. And family can do that. And and the reverse psychology sometimes works, sometimes backfires. But that she took off her ring and forsook her family to try to be her own person, finally get out from under her mother's shadow. Which is a very large, muscular shadow.
Right. And yeah, and we know these weapons could be game-changing too. We saw Vi with those giant gauntlets, and she was, going to town, beating up the Shimmer-induced robots, which ended up being children inside of those costumes.
That's when her and Jayce walked in on the bridge, like the Untouchables there to break up the barrels of Shimmer. He's got his giant hammer gun.
Yeah, it's like this stuff thing does everything.
You don't bring a knife to a hammer gun fight.
Yeah, and I love that it is a hammer too. Obviously, Jayce has a lot of connections to hammer. His sigil, for lack of a better term, is a hammer. There's a picture that was in his childhood home, which appears to be kind of drawn crayon-ish style of him holding a hammer, and then finally his family, I think it was referenced once or twice, was hammer makers before he kind of stepped up and wanted to go to the academy. So it's cool that thread continued as well. And then if we want to talk a little bit more about Silco and his gang, which start to kind of turn on him a little bit once the borders are closed and they don't have the ability to make the money that they were making.
Yeah, there's a lot of Silco's character. I find he's not a good dude, but he is loyal to his people and he does care for the people that he works with to an extent, specifically Jinx and probably Savika too. There's that moment where I believe his name is Finn, tries to talk Savika into breaking rank, and they get Rennie, whose son was killed by Jayce earlier in that fight,
Right.
in with them, a couple of those Chem Barons, I believe they were called, when they went to that meeting. So Finn was trying to be the lead there and take down Silco, take some power for himself. But Silco's loyalty holds strong, and Savika ends up killing Finn instead of Silco the second he mentions the word loyalty.
Yep.
And I like that if you look back at the animation there as she kills Finn, you can see in Silco's face, he was like 95% sure she wasn't going to kill him. Maybe 96% sure, but he wasn't 100% sure.
Right. Yeah.
He's not gasping for breath and frightened, but he also isn't completely calm there.
Mm-hmm. And Savika just is immortal. Yeah. I thought she was killed when Jinx got her and hung her upside down. I thought she was killed when Vi beat her and ripped off her arm, but she keeps going. She keeps surviving.
Yeah. She will survive.
Great. And I think the last thing we really want to touch upon, and to be honest, this is the thing that probably was the most engaging and really drove the episode, if not the full 9-episode story arc, was Jinx and how she has continued to be a driver in the story, and her mental capacity or her mental standings are something that we kind of look at and never know what she's going to do. A true wild card that can flip the narrative or the plot 180 degrees just based on a random choice, and it's believable when she does so.
Well, there was an interesting moment in that last scene when they're all at the table there after Jinx is kidnapped. Vi, Silco, Caitlyn, where she says, Silco thinks he made me, but really, Vi, you made me. And honestly, yes, Jinx is off the deep end, but is it Vi's fault? Did she drive her to it by forsaking her family? Similar almost to how Vi almost turned Jayce into a vigilante with that giant Warhammer gun. Like, she also seems to be a driving force. She seems like the good guy, but she's almost turning everyone that she runs into against their better judgment.
Yeah, and that scene is another big scene for a number of reasons. We, learn more about Jinx and find out that she has no plans on being Powder again, but also no plans to continue following Silco's orders, killing him by shooting. Well, we assume he's dead. I don't know.
You never know.
Back to life all the time.
Yeah.
She appears to kill him, and then the choice between sitting in a chair that says Powder and one that says Jinx, she chooses to sit in the one that says Jinx, and kind of walks out of the room, leaving Caitlyn to kind of come back to help Vi escape.
Yeah.
But the end of the episode... Oh, sorry, go for it.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, but the end of the episode, really is what made us think that we're getting more of this series, and I'd be absolutely shocked if we don't.
Yeah. It was a gorgeous scene. It looked like she was going to shoot the moon for a second.
Yeah. Things seem to be going well. We have Vi and Caitlyn back together and somewhat safe. You have the council voting and agreeing that they will let Zon be its own city, its own nation, essentially, getting it out from under of Piltover's rule, based on a discussion that Jayce had with Silco before Silco was killed.
Right.
And they, vote to have it be free and sovereign.
Unanimously.
Yeah, and then you have Jinx
just in time for
a shark-shaped bazooka, and fires that thing. And at first it looked like it was going to the city, then it looked like it's going to the moon, and then sure enough, it goes right into the window.
That's some good aim
where
right
the council is. So my guess, if I had to make one right now, is that not everyone in that room dies.
If I had to make one, my guess is they're all alive and well.
Yeah, all of them, every single one. Even that robot counselor that said like 3 words.
Honestly, if I had to guess from their style of writing, I guess 1, maybe 2 of them die, but it's the most important kind of other side guy that ends up shifting the power in an opposite direction.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would love to see is, I wouldn't mind if they all died. And basically, the discussion that they had in that room would be unknown to anybody else that they were even trying to sue for peace. Meaning that it would just be an all-out war. I think it's gonna be all-out war regardless.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way that peace is kept now that a rocket was shot into the room that they were just voting on.
The room
but
where it happened.
Needless to say, I think season 2 is gonna open with a bang, literally. And I hate using that word, but we'll quickly find out what happened in that room for sure. Next season, we still have a list of characters that are alive and will continue to do their own thing and make this world great. So we're really excited to see when that gets announced. Right now, we're kind of trying to decide what the next show we're going to pick up is. We watched Wheel of Time last night and really enjoyed it for what it was. So we're talking about that one. But we'll figure it out and we'll let everyone know.
Yeah, if you watch this and you want to see us review Wheel of Time, let us know down in the comments and we'll make a decision within the week.
Yeah, agreed. Let us know what you guys think. Well, want to say thank you to everyone that watched during Arcane Season 1, and we're looking forward to Season 2, or maybe some of these side stories that
Season 2.
Netflix apparently powered up. So, thanks everyone. Appreciate it. Take it easy, YouTube.
Later.